Hello everybody, MP with small field drafts, going back to our roots here and doing a 3-team best ball draft on Underdog. We've been taking some detours on the channel recently. We've been doing some weekly winners drafts, and we will definitely be doing a lot more of those. Starting that up again this week. I want to get back, though, to where I feel like I have the biggest edge. Weekly winners now has been up for 3 or 4 weeks, I think, and the ADP has started to settle. A lot of the strategy has been talked about. We don't really know what's optimal, but I had fun doing those drafts and kind of coming up with the strategy as we're going. But coming back to these small field drafts, 3, 4, 6 team drafts, this is really where I think I have a significant edge in the field. And it has to do with, number one, of course, just roster construction in general. You need to know how this format differs from the 12-team formats in best ball. And also, the one significant advantage I think we can get is through the tight end position. And I'll go over that as this draft goes along. But sitting here in the one spot, I usually am drafting Jamar Chase here pretty much every time. The only reason, not necessarily because I love him more than either Christian McCaffrey or Travis Kelce, but because there is a chance, although it may be small, that Christian McCaffrey falls back to us at the number 5 pick. The only other question I want to ask myself is, should I be drafting Travis Kelce here? I don't draft Travis Kelce almost ever in the first round. I might try another draft, maybe in the next 3-person draft that we do. I'll challenge myself to take Travis Kelce in the first round because I'm not sure what my exposures are exactly. I don't know if I can sort them through the 3-person drafts only, but I bet I have less Kelce than almost anyone. I bet I've not drafted him barely at all. I did get Christian McCaffrey here, though. He is one of my smash players in this 3-person format. I think he's probably deserves to be the 101, although you shouldn't draft him at the 101 because I have gotten him in the second round at the 6th pick. And if you can get Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey, and then Austin Eckler as your first 3 picks, I think that's probably the best start that you could come up with. I'm really hoping for Austin Eckler there. I do think he is the second most likely running back to achieve that 100 target ceiling that we're looking for in our running backs. What we want to do here, though, we want to get as many of the top 5 wide receivers as possible, right? Since we're definitely starting 3 wide receivers on a weekly basis and possibly 4 with that flex spot, we want to draft as many of the top 5 wide receivers as possible. I'll include A.J. Brown in there. I think there is a cutoff that you can see in the ADP between A.J. Brown and CeeDee Lamb. Unfortunately, this part of the draft, it's a little bit of a flat tier. It's not that I don't like Bijan Robinson. I just don't like him that much more than, say, Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, or Saquon Barkley. And even Tony Pollard, Derrick Henry, and Josh Jacobs. At this point in the draft, I want as many of the top wide receivers, top 10 wide receivers as I can. I do like Nick Chubb as having a sneaky upside to finishing as a top 3 running back. His ADP is the 4th overall or 4th running back at his position. But there, of course, as exists with the 12-person drafts, the normal best ball formats, there is such a huge value with all of these running backs here. Now, of course, when we're doing our small field drafts, what we want to do is make sure we're starring all of the tight ends. This is my killer strategy that I think is going to help win more of these small field drafts than not. We want to make sure we're getting Mark Andrews more than the rest of the field. There is a good chance that if we don't take Mark Andrews here, we'll be able to get him on our next pick because DLL Jr. drafted Travis Kelce at the 3rd overall position. Garrett Wilson or Amon-Ra St. Brown? I'm going to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Finish off. I don't feel like I have to take any more wide receivers at this point. I'm going to draft another one. I don't want to leave the draft with only 4 wide receivers, obviously. I'm probably going to be starting 4 wide receivers on a weekly basis more often than not. But I think let's go to the big board here. We have our 10 running backs going off, 10 wide receivers going off in the first 5 rounds. That's pretty normal. Jalen Hurts going at pick 15. Patrick Mahomes at pick 16. Wow. DLL Jr. pretty much going to be paying the rake for us here. I am going to take Mark Andrews here. All things even, obviously I'd love to take Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, but we don't want to be falling behind at the tight end position. Now, even if I don't get Mark Andrews in a draft, I still think I can overcome the points scored at the tight end position just by hammering all the other tight ends, by drafting Hawkinson, Kittle, Pitts, Goddard, even Waller. I'm considering belongs in that kind of tier of tight ends. In these 3-person drafts, those are the only tight ends worth drafting. I'm going to say up to Darren Waller. Those are the only guys that you really want. Okay, we have let's call it 3 picks here. Jonathan Taylor, Garrett Wilson, and Josh Allen. I think because we can get Lamar, we can wait on Allen. The guy behind us has already taken his 2 quarterbacks. We do already have 4 wide receivers, but we are letting our next drafter get away with the value on Garrett Wilson if we don't take him here. Let's go with Garrett Wilson, right? We want as many of those top 10 wide receivers as possible. Garrett Wilson is sitting there. He has been falling quite a lot in these smaller field drafts. For some reason, people seem to be down on the Jets this year. Garrett Wilson specifically. And I'm just going to scoop him up. And I'm going to say, I don't think I have to draft another wide receiver in this for the rest of this draft. We have, 8 or 9 more picks. We probably will take another wide receiver just because our teams are going to be so loaded. It would just more than likely be a mistake not to. On any given week, say week 7, we're only going to have 3 wide receivers to play. So just to fill out our roster. Do we want... Okay. Jay Sar here. He's going to have 2 picks. It is likely that he'll take Josh Allen. Now, I'm okay with not getting Josh Allen and drafting Lamar, but do I want to give Jay Sar Josh Allen? Do I want to gift him what could be the number 1 quarterback in points per game? Probably not. I'll let him draft Tony Pollard, even though I do want to get these running backs. I do want to get as many of these next 4 running backs as possible. I think Derrick Henry is getting a boost right now with DeAndre Hopkins just announcing that he's signing in Tennessee. I would still draft him behind Tony Pollard. There still is risk with Pollard. Dallas signing another running back. I would love to grab Pollard here. I just want to hammer all of the running backs in this range. And then we don't need to draft any wide receivers. We definitely don't need to draft a quarterback. We're going to be hammering all the tight ends. I'm just going to scoop up the rest of these running backs and then grab all of the tight ends. The reason why this strategy works so well, in my opinion, is because I think the rest of the field is not drafting tight ends enough, especially the Kelsey drafter, although in this instance, DLL Jr. is proving me wrong. Usually what happens is the person who drafts Travis Kelce feels like they're good on tight end for the rest of the draft. They don't need to draft any more tight ends, and they'll wait until their last pick. I think that is a mistake because of what I can do to exploit that, which is draft all of the tight ends worth drafting. We're going to take Ramondre Stevenson here. Not think twice about it. There really is nobody else. There's no quarterbacks. Joe Burrow we don't need because we already have Josh Allen. Devontae Smith, he's a wide receiver that I love. I would love to have on my team. But I've already got 5 great wide receivers. How often is Devontae Smith going to be making my lineup? He'll probably get in there a decent amount. But how often is he going to be making my lineup over another guy who I can wait like 5 more rounds on? Jerry Jeudy, Christian Watson, Drake London, Terry McLaurin, Keenan Allen. Those guys are probably going to be hitting my lineup at the same rate or similar rate that Devontae Smith would be. So instead, what I need to find are the players who are going to be making the biggest impact to my roster. It's definitely not Breece Hall, a guy who's probably not going to be healthy until halfway through the season. Maybe it's one of these next few wide receivers who are going to outperform. But what I think it is, it's the tight ends. Obviously, drafting Mark Andrews at pick 17, we're giving up a lot of capital, but not really. Right? In a 12-team draft, drafting Mark Andrews at 17 is a terrible negative EV pick. But because before we drafted Mark Andrews, we got 5 elite players. That's the difference between the 12-team drafts and the 3-team drafts. We can spend our 17th overall pick on Mark Andrews because we've already filled out our entire wide receiver and almost our running back lineup. I'm going to keep hammering Kyle Pitts. I'm going to get all the tight ends that I can. And hopefully, the rest of the room is just going to say, he's drafting tight ends early. There's no way he would draft 4. He's already got Andrews. He's got Kittle. He's got Pitts now. He's not going to draft another one. I can wait. Same with the Kelsey drafter. I spent so much capital on Kelsey. Kelsey's the best tight end. He could repeat what he did last year and outscore every other tight end by 4+ points per game. I don't need to worry. But if I can draft Kittle, Hawkinson, Pitts, Andrews, hell, even Darren Waller, Dallas Goedert. If I have all 5 of those guys on my team and you're sitting there with Travis Kelce, I mean, who's going to score more points at the tight end position? Including while I have Jamar Chase, I have Stephon Diggs, I have A.J. Brown, I have Christian McCaffrey, I have Josh Allen. How are you going to beat me? In this game, I do think bully ball is a strategy that we can utilize. But I think it works the best at tight end because of the fact that the 3-team, 4-team, 6-team ADPs are based on 12-team ADPs. The market is skewed. This is not the ADPs that you see on the screen here are not indicative of what the small field is drafting. They're indicative of the 12-team drafts. These ADPs are based on 12-team drafts. All right, we've taken just about all the tight ends that I want to take off the board. We definitely need some more running backs, and I think Travis Etienne is the last of a tier. Joe Mixon probably does belong there now that he has restructured his contract and is not going to be cut, guaranteed not going to be cut by Cincinnati this year. I think he has a lot more. He's much better in these cash game formats where you're at this point, specifically in the draft, you're looking for a floor rather than a ceiling because of its cumulative point scoring. We're just sitting pretty here. Let's take a look at the board, see how we're faring. I don't love that. Let's look on this side of the draft here. All right. The badge on the left of us, J.S. Czar, he's got Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. I still think we're beating him with Josh Allen. He's got Austin Eckler, Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, Josh Jacobs, and Breece Hall. That's a stable of running backs that are excellent. We're keeping up with him, though, even though we only have 4, but we have Christian McCaffrey. He's got Jefferson, Hill, Adams, Waddle, Smith. He's got a great lineup, but he doesn't have any tight ends. There's no tight ends left for him. Who do I want here? I think I want Joe Mixon. The only other guy I would really consider at this point is, hell, maybe any of these other running backs. I do just like the fact of Joe Mixon that he's on Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati's going to be great. Maybe that's a bit of a mistake. But I think in a vacuum, Joe Mixon is definitely worth more than Darren Waller. But is it worth letting another drafter take Darren Waller, right? That's another thing you have to consider in these small field drafts. Sure, Joe Mixon is maybe better than Darren Waller. But do I want Jay Sar here, right, who has 0 tight ends? I already have 4. He's probably saying to himself, there's no way in hell Dark Mark MP is going to draft a 5th tight end. And Darren Waller, everybody hates Darren Waller. I'm going to do it. I'm going to draft 5 tight ends. I'm going to draft Mark Andrews at 17. I'm going to draft George Kittle at 32. I'm going to draft Pitts at 35. Dallas Goedert at 38. Darren Waller at 47. Okay? Crazy, right? When I started doing this, even at the beginning of this offseason, when I started drafting these small field drafts and I made this channel, this was like crazy. I would never think to do this. But look at my team. I have arguably the best quarterback in fantasy with Josh Allen, arguably. I have the best running back in Christian McCaffrey. I have 4 other great running backs who could spike on any given week. I have an incredible starting 5 wide receivers, all in the top 10. And I have 5 out of the top 6 tight ends. After we make our pick here, how many more picks do we have? We have 2 more picks. We definitely need a second quarterback. Let's go with Justin Herbert. We're getting good value on him. That's a great quarterback duo between Josh Allen and Justin Herbert. And for our last pick, we'll just choose probably a wide receiver. I do love Kenneth Walker, but I'd rather have 6 wide receivers just from a roster construction point of view than a guy like Kenneth Walker. How often is he going to be contributing? Maybe twice, 3 times a year, right? That his points are going to hit. And how much of a difference is those points going to make? We're more than likely going to be starting 1 more wide receiver on a weekly basis on average than we are going to need that 6th running back. So let's just take Jerry Jeudy here or Terry McLaurin. I do like taking Terry McLaurin. The only problem is their quarterbacks, but I think Washington will sort it out, right? If Sam Howell sucks, they're going to go to Jacoby Brissett, and Jacoby Brissett can get it done. If Sam Howell is good, then Terry McLaurin's got a good quarterback in Sam Howell. I think it will work, and especially as our 6th wide receiver when we have 5 wide receivers in the top 10. All right, so is this strategy crazy, or is it the best strategy in these small field drafts? Let's compare my team to both the other teams and tell me that my team is not the best. And maybe, if not the best, I know I'm not the worst. I have pretty much every single one of my starting roster spots covered. All right. Enough talk. Let's put my money where my mouth is. Okay, let's do a quick review of my team. Josh Allen, Justin Herbert. What quarterbacks could you draft in a one quarterback max? You can start one quarterback per week, weekly draft. Which other team's quarterbacks are going to be better than mine that you can project, right? Obviously, Mahomes and Hurts can hit and kill me at the quarterback position, but I got some good value on Allen and Herbert. McCaffrey, Henry, Stevenson, Etienne, Joe Mixon. Elite. Joe Mixon, sucks, right? Let's just say he sucks, but he's on Cincinnati. He's going to score a couple touchdowns, and the times he scores those touchdowns, he has a good chance of making our roster. Travis Etienne could blow up. Ramondre Stevenson might be the only guy in New England. Derrick Henry, we know they're going for it this year. Whether or not they'll be any good, they're probably going to be better now that they have DeAndre Hopkins than they were before. And we got him pretty much at the same place that he was going before DeAndre Hopkins signed. We just have that little bit more certainty. And in these cash games, you want more certainty, more floor than you really care about ceiling, especially once you get past, when you're on your second running back, third running back, etc. Wide receivers, Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Terry McLaurin. How much better could anybody else's team be? And then tight end, we know it, okay? Let's compare that to JSAR, right? The badge, who was at pick 101, right? He had the pick of the litter. Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. I don't think you could project them to be better than my quarterback duo. Austin Eckler, Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, Josh Jacobs, Breece Hall. Not better than my running back stable. Maybe equal. Maybe his is better. Like mine projects better, but maybe his does better. But they're not going to do that much better, right? On average. Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Deebo Samuel, Keenan Allen, DK Metcalf. It's a good stable. He doesn't have as many elite guys as me. He has more of that kind of tier 3 group of wide receivers, and he's got a big volume of them. So he's got more chances for each one of these third tier or more guys to hit. But we have a concentrated bet, and I think that's what we want, right? But look at his tight ends. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt, right? Let's say he's even with us at quarterback, right? Because Lamar Jackson, right, he belongs in that upper echelon of tier 1 quarterbacks. Let's just say it, all right? Let's say that happens. Joe Burrow, people are projecting him to be better than Justin Herbert anyway. And let's say he has an elite season. He throws 55 touchdown passes, 5,500 yards. I mean, he's going to be great. Okay. How much better is that than what we have? Running backs, how much better is that than what we have? It might be better, but how much better? Wide receivers, how much better? Might be better, but how much better? Tight ends. We know for sure that our tight ends are going to crush him. We know at the end of the year, okay, I don't know him. This is what I'm speculating. Let's bring it down a little bit, okay? I'm probably going to crush him in points scored at the tight end position over the course of the year. This is a cumulative scoring format. One tight end guaranteed to make a roster spot and a flex spot. I could have 2 tight ends making my roster every single week, right? Probably not going to happen too often, but it could. So drafting 5 tight ends is probably overkill, but it's not just for me. I'm also stealing them from this guy, right? If this guy had Darren Waller or Dallas Goedert or Kyle Pitts or any of those other tight ends, his team would be much, much better. But because I hoarded them, I took them away from him. There is no chance in hell that he can keep up with me at the tight end position. So how is he beating me? How is he beating me this year? And let's just look at the other guy, Junior over here. He drafted 3 great quarterbacks, right? But he spent a lot of capital on them. The other 2 guys in this draft, me and the other, Badge, we only drafted 2 quarterbacks. He drafted 3. But you can only start 1 quarterback max per week. So how often is Justin Fields making this roster? When he blows up for a 50 burger, a couple times a year. Sure. But between Mahomes and Hurts, I mean, they're competing so much with each other that they're more likely canceling each other out than helping his team. So even if I only had Josh Allen, I'm probably still not falling too far behind on his team. Running back, I don't see anybody here that's blowing me out of the water. Wide receiver, Kupp, Brown. Those are the only 2 receivers he has in the top 10. Olave Higgins, Ridley, Cooper, DJ Moore, and Drake London. I don't think you can project him as having a better wide receiver finish than me. Tight ends. He got Kelsey and he got Hawkinson. So we're not crushing him. I'd say we're competing with him. And we have more outs to scoring more at the tight end position than he does just overall. Because we have a huge grouping of tight ends that we can get to make our roster every week. Kelsey, obviously, you can project him take it to the bank. But pick 4. Pick 4, that is so much that you're giving up. Such a high cost. And what did I pay? What did I pay for the next 5 guys? Not Hawkinson. So what did I pay for the next 5 out of the next 7 guys? Or the 5 out of the next 6 guys? I think if you took all the capital that I spent, pick 17, 32, 35, 38, 47, does that come close to pick 4? I mean, if we go to the board, he drafted Kelsey at pick 4. Between the time he drafted Kelsey and the time I drafted Andrews, I drafted 1, 2, 3, 4 more elite players, including Christian McCaffrey, a guy who sometimes goes at 101. I don't think so. If I can equal the points that you're getting with drafting Travis Kelsey, and I didn't have to spend anywhere near what you spent on Kelsey, how is he beating me? Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe I'm totally off base. I do think, however, that it will play out that if you utilize this tight end overkill strategy in the small field, 3-person, 4-person, I haven't tried it in the 6-person, that would probably be harder. I've done it in the 4-person drafts. You know, before, I've been talking about this idea of drafting a lot of tight ends, overdrafting Mark Andrews, drafting these tight ends, Kittle, Pitts, and Goddard. I've been talking about that a lot on this channel over the last couple months. But I have not on this channel drafted 5 of the top 7 tight ends. But I think I've been drafting in these small field drafts for a while now, starting since the beginning of this offseason. I mean, where are these picks better spent? That's the only question. What would I rather be spending pick 32 on, pick 35, pick 38? Let's go to the board. Instead of pick 32, I could have had Calvin Ridley. I could have had Amari Cooper. I don't care. I got 5 top 10 receivers already. Instead of pick 38, right, Dallas Goedert. Instead of Dallas Goedert, I could have had Justin Fields. I could see that one going in a vacuum. Justin Fields probably going to have some monster games this year with his rushing upside. I could see it. Maybe you draft Justin Fields. But I've already got Josh Allen. I'm banking on Josh Allen to be my guy most weeks of the year. He's got the rushing. He's an elite passer. Buffalo's a great team. Great offense. Their defense is whatever. They play in the AFC. Monster teams all around. Even in the AFC East. We know Josh Allen's putting up a ton of points. So Justin Fields could help this lineup because he's going to have these spike weeks with his rushing. But by not drafting Dallas Goedert, if I let JSR, the badge on the left of us here, if I let him get Dallas Goedert, if I let him draft Darren Waller, if I let him get away with getting a lot of volume at the tight end position, our edge is not as big, I don't think, than it would be if we drafted Justin Fields. Now, maybe I shouldn't have drafted Dallas Goedert at 38. Maybe I could have pushed it to pick 41, to pick 44. That is something else that I had been talking about on this channel, is the slow tight end draft, right? I drafted George Kittle, Kyle Pitts, and Dallas Goedert back to back to back. Maybe that's not always smart because that is above ADP, especially in these small field drafts. Sometimes these tight ends can get pushed down the board. And I was doing that for a while. The slow rug. I don't want them to get scared. Sometimes you draft 2 tight ends back to back and the next guy gets scared and he takes one. And then the next guy sees that 3 have gone back to back to back and he takes another one. So sometimes going overkill, it hurts more. But if I draft a tight end, if I start a run and then there's 3 more tight ends drafted after me, I didn't lose any value because all the picks I could have picked instead of drafting that tight end are still there. So I think it's a win-win situation. Who would you rather have in this range? I don't need Calvin Ridley. I don't need Amari Cooper. I definitely don't need Breece Hall, who's not going to be healthy for half of the season. Joe Burrow, I've already got an elite quarterback. Justin Fields, maybe. That one, I can give it to you. I'll consider it. But would I rather draft Justin Fields at 39 or Justin Herbert at 50? I mean, Anthony Richardson's there. You pick the litter at your last pick. Quarterbacks 8 through 12. But anyway, let me know what you think. This is my killer strategy. It's so easy. I mean, it's counterintuitive if you play a lot of best ball. You would never think to draft. I mean, who's drafting 5 tight ends? But there's not a lot of content. I think if more people were doing content about 3-team best ball, this format or this roster construction would be much more widely accepted. Just not a lot of people talk about it. You can only find it here on Small Field Drafts with me, MP. More drafts coming, small field, and weekly winners. I know you all love the weekly winners. I love it too. So we're going to be doing weekly winners every week. We're going to be doing small field drafts. I'd love to do a 4-team draft. I think I can still get away with this strategy here. Tight end, bang, bang, bang. If you want to hop in, you want to snipe me on my tight ends, fine. We'll go straight up, mano a mano. Come on, draft with me. Watch my videos, subscribe, like, all that, whatever you want. Just come hang out, say hi. I'll see you in the next video.